Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other two are just along for the ride. Tyler, say what's up.
What's going on? And unfortunately, I do not have my mom here. She would love to be watching this as we're joined by everybody's mom's favorite player.
What up, Hunter? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Do you like that nickname? We're trying to make it a thing, and we need to know if it's okay for us to actually go out there and try to make it a thing.
I think it's funny. I think I think it's cool.
Okay. All right. So we
Well,
got
yeah,
the.
Aaron, you were the one who started it. What was sort of the inspiration on that? It just started and it ran, and I'm like, I support this. So
Yeah.
how did you come up with this?
You got to lean into it when you find some kind of gold, right? But it's the last name. You're a good man, and like your mom is going to be happy if you're bringing home a good man. And so I was like, just mom's going to be happy with the good man. So Hunter Goodman, it worked, and so that's where I was going with it. Uh, so thank you for hanging out. You had quite a season all across the board. But the biggest one is kind of wedding planning season. I talked to your fiance in Akron for a little bit. Fantastic lady, super nice, very personable. I was awesome getting to talk to her for about an inning there. But like how does that even work during the season? How is it looking now? How is that all happening?
I was pretty blessed as far as during the season. I helped with some things, but she did a great job doing during the season. A lot of the things that she could do on her own, she did on her own, and she tried not to like stress me out or bother me with some different things, so that I could focus on baseball for a little bit. But now that I've gotten home, I'm trying to do my best to help. Some of the things I don't know what's going on because I've gone for most of the year, so it's a little weird. But yeah, it's been great so far.
Is that wedding this summer?
No, it's December 2nd, so we're getting.
Okay.
Yeah, wow, that is kind of very soon. Other than that, though, what is the winter shaping up to look like for you? Obviously, you're going to have ball, but what are some of the highlights that you've got?
I've started working out a little bit, but for the most part, I've been golfing and then going hunting. Are the two things I usually do in the off season. So,
How's the golf game looking?
it's all right. It could be.
It's spoken like any true amateur golfer that gets out there anyway. That's awesome. And then what are
Well,
you
we
hunting?
gotta.
Sorry, what was that?
What are you hunting? What are you going out hunting?
Whitetail.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Any
we got to know how your like record drive, like whether you're at the
Oh
range or
yeah, big
something.
drive.
This is the person to ask with that swing.
Um, it just depends on how I'm hitting it that day. If I hit it well, I mean I can hit it 300. If I'm not hitting it well, it's 300 right and 200 straight. So
That works. That works. That's awesome. So enjoying some of that free time, but also preparing for the craziness that's about to happen to you. Because that month leading up to that wedding, man, it's all hands on deck. It's
yeah.
a blur. So Godspeed to you when that comes around. Let's talk baseball. So you had quite a season, starting at Double A, finished in Colorado. Just I guess what's your kind of overall takeaway from all of that, just in that general sense?
Overall, I felt like I had a great year overall. Looking back on it now, I went into the year trying to clean some things up as far as the chase and stuff like that goes, and I felt like I did a better job. Obviously, I can still improve on that, but I was able to keep pretty much the same production. I didn't have as high of batting average and stuff like that, so but I was able to keep my production up and do the things that I did that my first full season as well.
Well, so looking at just one of the stops, you spent time in Albuquerque. I actually lived in Albuquerque for like 8 years, and my parents are still down there. So I love seeing games there, but there was something different going on with you. You had a 903 slug in just about 3 weeks down there. Like, what were you feeling in Albuquerque? Like, was it something in the water? How can you explain that to us?
I'm not sure if it was something in the water, but when I went home for the All-Star break, kind of hit with my dad a little bit, talked about some things because before the All-Star break, I was struggling a little bit, maybe trying to do too much or whatever it was. And then I came back from the All-Star break, started hitting better in Hartford, and I think just towards the end of my time in Hartford, I was getting hotter and hotter, and then I got to Albuquerque and kind of kept going. So I think that was a big thing going into that.
Just once you are hot, stay hot, and especially in Albuquerque, go with it. Jordan Pacheco, he's a friend of the pod. Really like talking to him. What did he did he bring anything new to light with you, or is he just supportive? Like, what was kind of your relationship with Jordan in AAA?
I was only there with him for a short period of time.
Right.
I felt like I loved listening to him talk about the pitchers we were facing and the different approach that you could take for that certain guy. As far as the swing goes, I didn't really do much. I haven't changed a whole lot since I've been in pro ball. So
Right.
the approach thing I really like to talk about.
Okay. Anything like that he said that kind of stood out to you getting ready for Colorado?
No, I mean it's just the same game up there too. You just got to keep that same approach. I mean, obviously there's more fans and it's a bigger stage, but you got to try to do your best to calm the nerves and just do what you do and not try and overdo it because that's when you start to struggle.
Mm-hmm. Was that so? Was that hard to do? Like, that's got to be like, what was those emotions going through the clubhouse for that first time? Just that whole first game experience.
Yeah, the first game experience was pretty crazy. I got there on Saturday night. I think I got into my hotel room like 1 a.m, and then got to the field the next day, and it was just from that time on, it felt like the day just went by like in the snap of a finger. It was crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I talked to your dad. Left me on red. I'm a little mad at him. I was trying to get him on the pod after your debut. I wanted to do something different. It's like, what about from like a dad's perspective? But he was traveling like crazy. He was helping you. He said something about moving your truck or something from Hartford or down around. So he was a busy man. So I'm over it. I'm a little hurt, but I'm over it. But just having that support system there with you, like being willing to pack up and go. Like, they drove 8-9 hours to go see you in Akron from Memphis area to when you were there, and then they made it all the way to Colorado and kind of followed you a little bit there. Like, what's that support system like? Like,
it's awesome. And it's one of those things where they don't, at the end of the day, they don't care how I do. I mean, they want me to do well and stuff like that, but it's not going to change or affect how they talk to me or anything like that. It's nice being able to, whether I go 0 for 4 or 4 for 4 going after the game, you're going to talk to somebody, to people who love you way and are going to be there to support you no matter what you do. So it's really nice to have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, talking to your fiance and seeing the support from dad on the social, like, you have a pretty good support system going through that. So that's awesome that they're there for you and you can lean on them going with that piece. That's a huge, like, me and Tyler talk about a lot. Like, there is a human side to all of you. And I think sometimes we forget about that as fans. Like, we see you on TV, we see all your numbers and all that, but you guys are people too. And so it's good to hear some of your perspective as we talk to you all. So that's cool. Do you miss catching?
Sometimes I feel like sometimes it helps me hit. Just seeing the ball from that perspective, it's pretty similar. And then yeah, I mean, that's what I've growing up. I caught all the time, and then in college, my last 2 years, I caught almost every game. So it's a position I really like to play when I get to play it consistently. It's tough when it's every once in a while you catch. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to try and get back there and feel the same as you do when you're doing it more consistently. But yeah, I miss catching. I think I've gotten a lot better since I've gotten into pro ball, working with Jerry and different people in the organization. So,
well, yeah, what can you tell us about just yourself defensively right now? I know there's some conversations you might want to keep private about plans and stuff, but would you say catching is becoming a thing of your past, or is there still going to be a little catching in your future?
I feel like, at least for right now, I'm going to keep working on it. I feel like that just adds value if I can do it. If even if I'm just emergency guy, if something crazy were to happen, I feel like that adds value. So I'm going to keep working on that, and then work at first base, and keep trying to improve in the outfield as well.
Yeah, and describe that journey for us, because the outfield is one of those positions you kind of feel like, oh, you track fly balls growing up, you can figure it out. But when there's so much time for you in between, mostly playing catcher and then jumping out in the outfield, what was mostly this year like for you, having to refigure all that out and try to become a major league outfielder?
It was different, definitely a lot different than last year. Last year I was focused. Every day I was taking ground balls at first and just doing first. And then this year it was kind of crazy because days I would DH, I would try and catch a bullpen or two, and then go take some ground balls, and then go out in the outfield, shag during BP. So it was a little different trying to figure out a routine where I could try and um, get all three of them in or whatever. So, but for the most part, the lineup when you get to the field. So, the days I was playing first, I'd go take ground balls, and then the days I was playing outfield, I'd shag. So I got to where on those DH days, I figured out a pretty good routine where I could work on a little bit of everything, and it ended up working out pretty good.
It's almost like every day was a youth baseball camp for you, like from station to station, going to figure it out from there to there. What's your favorite? So is catching obviously your favorite position to play? Like,
yeah, I'd say catching's probably my favorite.
yeah. All right. So like you're working through that. So going back to that emergency catching, that was my question. Were you aware? Like Bud Black said, you were going to be a catcher if you had to go extras at one point in one of the games in late September. I cannot tell you exactly which game, but like, were you aware that like that was gonna be the game plan going forward? Like in that moment, like I'm curious. I guess how are you told like if you're emergency or you're going in that
Yeah,
kind of setting?
they told me. I think Diaz pinch hit for wins at that time.
Yeah,
Diaz got on, and they told me if Diaz got on, and they needed a pinch run for him, that I was going to be catching. So Diaz got on. They pinch ran for him. So I went and got all my gear ready, all that stuff. I got everything ready to go out there, and we ended up losing the game, but yeah, that was a crazy feeling too. My adrenaline was pumping. I was nervous, like it was crazy.
Well, was there anything like, obviously you're not putting as much work into catching as you used to, but being around Elias Diaz and Austin Wins, those are two experienced catchers. Did you get anything like from the catching game, or just from their mindset approaching baseball, whether it's trying to, look into guys tipping their pitches, something like that? Did you pick anything up from those guys?
Yeah, I talked to Wins a lot while I was up. He did a lot of stuff with video, watching video of opposing pitchers, seeing if they would tip their pitches. He would watch videos of our pitchers, making sure they're not tipping their pitches. And he did a great job with scouting, getting a good note card ready, and knowing different weaknesses of all the hitters and stuff like that. So, yeah, I talked to him a lot, and I felt like he did a really good job.
that's awesome because we hear about Wins being that big, good clubhouse guy and like doing all the roles.
Aaron mentioned that there's some work going on in his house that might involve network and stuff, but I think at least, yeah, with Wins, we definitely heard a lot. He's sort of like having another bench coach in the dugout in a way, and just hearing from you about that extra help with advanced scouting and stuff is good to hear. I know you have to kind of detach yourself a little from the transactions and stuff, but it has to be a little, bittersweet seeing a guy like that leaving. At least for now, good chance he's coming back, but just seeing a guy like that off the roster's got to be a little bit bittersweet.
Yeah, definitely. I told him I texted him and said good luck, and wish the best for him for sure.
And so, otherwise, though, from your call up, you mentioned getting into the hotel at 1 a.m. and having that following day would be completely surreal. But was there another moment that you'll kind of just always remember forever, whether it was a funny story like getting to the field that day or just something else surreal like walking by Chris Bryant, like something in that range? What would you say is that other moment that will just always stick with you?
Um, I'd say honestly, just that's a hard question. Um, I mean, the following weeks, we played against like the Braves. I was playing first, talking to Austin Riley. I know him a little bit, but then Acuna gets on first. I get to talk to Acuna a little bit. So some of those things like that are pretty cool. Obviously, watching the big leagues for the last few years, talking to those guys, some of the best in the game, and being able to do that is something that's really cool.
Well, and so kind of building on that Acuna question, and not specifically with him, do you remember who, when you were playing first base, who the first guy to get on was, and just how did that interaction feel?
Um, it was obviously somebody for Baltimore. I can't remember exactly who for Baltimore though is the thing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it was pretty much everybody I talked to was cool. Everybody told me congrats and best of luck. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, and you do have a lot of experience at first, and everyone's watching games, and I think everyone has this like backstory or just this idea that those conversations at first base, there's a lot of just hidden stuff going on. Are they pretty just like basic conversations? Like, what's the weirdest first base conversation you've ever had with an opposing player?
Um, the weirdest. I mean, I've had some guys ask questions about other teammates that are like nothing to do with baseball, just asking different questions, and then I've just had conversations like, "Hey, how are you doing? Good. How are you? Good." And then there's no talking after that. You just ask how they're doing, and then you. So there's a lot of different ranges of where the conversation goes. Obviously, there's different guys you feel more comfortable talking to if you know them a little bit or if you talked to them before. But yeah, I don't know if I've had any really weird ones.
So I could totally see some guys just trying to like get in your head a little bit by saying something completely unexpected. But also a lot of guys are just, yeah, giving you the how's it going thing.
Yeah.
But I think just one more question, heading into 2024, you had a nice cup of coffee in the big leagues. You mentioned you're trying to cut down on chase a little bit. What else did you feel you were taught in your time with the big leagues, and how are you planning to make those adjustments and really set yourself up for this next season?
I think I'm this offseason I'm trying to put a bigger focus on the defense than I did last offseason. Obviously I love to hit and I've always loved to hit, so I spend more time on that. But just watching some of those guys work defensively before games and stuff like that, I think that's something I need to put a bigger emphasis on just to continue to get better at first and then right and even catching. So putting a bigger emphasis on that, and I think that's one of the biggest things.
Well, sweet. Yeah, it was a pleasure seeing you'd really jump through the system, and I hope like how what yeah, one more. How did you enjoy Albuquerque? Just that's a place that's near and dear in my heart. You can say anything bad you want to, because I have plenty of bad things to say about Albuquerque. So
Well, honestly, I didn't get to do much because I was only there for that 1 week. Because when I got called up, we were in Round Rock, went back to Albuquerque, and then went to OKC. But as far as for me, I mean, I ate a few good restaurants. I don't remember any of the names, but I had a good time. The games were fun, good experience. Um, Stayed in a hotel for the week, so it was a pretty nice hotel. Wasn't bad.
yeah, I guess I forget that some of those minor league schedules, you're out of town, you're on the road for like 2 weeks straight. I mean, that's kind of crazy, but otherwise, that again, really great watching your progress this year. Congrats on cracking the big league roster. Congrats on the wedding coming up. That's extremely exciting. So just enjoy all these times. It's been a huge year for you, and it's going to continue to be.
Will do. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much again for coming on. We'll be in touch, and take care.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Bye, Hunter.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, Aaron. I know this part will eventually get cut out. If you can hear me, I'm just sticking in here in case we got to protect the recording somehow. I want to make sure that we don't lose it.